And the first thing I want to say is if you're listening to the podcast in your car, like through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you got to get to YouTube and so you can see Spencer Nix. He's a mountain of muscle CrossFit. We're going to be getting into that today, but I also want to say his tattoo is super cool. And we're going to get into that because I have been putting off getting a tattoo like that because I'm like, well, what are people going to think? But I'm in this mode of I don't care what people think anymore. I'm living my life and I want to be the best version of myself. So I'm like, if and when I do that, like I want to do it. So we're probably going to pick your brain on that as well. So you got to get to YouTube and see it. It's really cool. I wanted to ask before we started, but what's very cool is neuroscience, performance coach, working with athletes, executives. We're going to get into all that today. That's what Spencer Nix does. And a behavioral science. This is all the things we love. It's about to happen right now. And he's the owner and chief researcher, so that you have like ownership in what it is you do at the company you're with. So yeah, man, if you give us a little background about yourself and get to know you, and we'll jump into it.
I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, you said I have muscles, tattoos. You made it sound like I'm really smart. I don't know if there's much I'd really want to taint that. Anything I say will probably just be a downgrade.
All that's left is teach us how to do all this. I want to know. Like,
Yeah.
how long you had the tattoo? Like, when did you get that?
So I guess I've had it for, well, they're bits and pieces. So I have a whole sleeve, and I started with just a very small one on the inside of my arm, and even that was supposed to be about the size of a $50. And for my wife and I, like, she doesn't have any tattoos, and even just her warming up to this concept, when she finally said, like, yeah, I think that would be cool, then I knew in my mind, and this is very typical of how most negotiations happen, is like, if the door's cracked just a little bit, I know that I'm probably going to run with that. And so, that one ended up being bigger. And then, like we were saying before we started recording, we have 3 kids. And so two of them, they're incorporated into the tattoos that I have in a very subtle way. Like, I have a daughter named Scarlett, and there's a red flower on the inside of my elbow. And so there's like subtle references to them, which I think, to your point, Ian, when you want to get tattoos, it's great, at least when you start to have like some justification that no one can argue with. Like, no one's going to say, like, hey man, that's a stupid tattoo of your daughter.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm thinking,
yeah,
getting my daughter's favorite color is yellow, and I was thinking a yellow rose, and my son's favorite color is red, and my wife's is like a peach, and I was thinking doing like a rose, and I don't know, from Scotland. So there's just so many things to add in there, and I was always some, you got to do it for, like you're saying, personal reasons, and no one else's opinion should come into that. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do it for me. It's my life, and yeah. So you're inspiration for me right there, man.
I can tell you this though: after having tattoos for a while, you start to care less and less that they have meaning. So the more that I got, the more I was like, I think that just looks cool,
Yeah,
Or
why not,
when
man?
the first time I went in, I was very particular. It's like, hey, I want it to look like this, and the same friend has done all of mine, and each time that I go in, it's less and less direction. It's like, hey, a bear would be cool, or it's like, this is a cool flower. Most of my friends that are heavily tattooed, I think they would probably agree with that. It's like, after a while, it's like, yeah, you do stop caring what people think, and you just get them because you like them.
Yeah, it's art. It's beautiful. It's like a fancy car or a beautiful painting. It's aesthetically pleasing. Why not
I
enjoy
will
that?
tell you this though, we were talking about, kids, and I really thought that we were just going to have 2 kids, and then we had a third. My tattoos were done before the third was born, but she got to an age where she would look, and this is an interesting thing that has nothing to do with level up and live, but our generation, people that are adults, they have a certain opinion about tattoos. But when you're a kid and you have a parent that grows up and they have them on there, it's not weird to them. It's actually weird for people not to have them.
Yeah, it's a great point. Never
And
thought about that
and
before.
and so when she sees these, it's not like, oh, why do you have a tattoo? Her question was, where's the one for me? I was like, oh, it's a great question. I don't actually have one. So I had to go back and my arm was full. So I got one on my leg and we call her Little Bear. And so it's literally like
Oh, that's so
a little
cool.
bear that's not very little. It's like takes up my whole thigh.
Wow. Are
So
you
I
done?
had to go back. I don't think so.
Yeah, you can't
I think
be.
I'll keep going. I think it'd be cool to have, my right arm and then the whole left leg filled. But we're for sure not having any more kids, and so I think I am kind of left to, we have a van, so it's like, yeah, maybe I'll get like a tattoo of a van, or I like
That's
pizza,
cool.
maybe I'll get a tattoo of pizza. At this point, yeah, I don't
Dude,
really
I
have a
love
lot of
it,
like
man.
symbolism I need to
Yeah,
represent on my
just enjoy it.
body.
You don't need a reason. You know what I mean? You don't need to have a reason for anybody except for yourself. I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, man. Kind of shifting gears a little bit. Actually, I'm curious on. I kind of want to stay on the tattoo thing, Ewan, because I'm curious on what you would get, man. Because that would be a big pill to swallow
Mm-hmm.
for knowing
Change
my.
everything. Yeah.
I've known
Do you
Ewan for
even know
20 years.
him?
Yeah.
Could you guys even do this podcast anymore? Yeah, it would change
So I do
everything.
have a tattoo. My wife's name's Kelly, Kelli, and I thought, I don't know if people think I'm serious or not. Probably don't, but I'm very serious when in business and whatever. But I just love to have fun. I enjoy myself. I always want to make my wife laugh. Like she makes me laugh so hard all the time. That's why I love her. And
Here's-
so I thought it'll be funny if I surprise her on our honeymoon. I'm gonna have Kel. That's what I call her nickname. Just right hidden on the inside of up on my hip, right next to my hip bone. And so I have one tattoo, and ever since then, that's been, oh man, I almost gave away that I didn't know my how long I've been married. It'll be 19 years in March, and ever since then, I'm like, man, I wanted more. So I've already got one, but most people don't know.
I didn't know that.
But what I would get is, the kids and wife with those tattoos with the flowers. But then I was thinking, being from Scotland, there's the lion rampant. It's the Scottish lion, and then a few other
Mm-hmm.
things wrapped in there. And I love the colors that you have. I wanted like a colorful in there. It just is aesthetically pleasing. I love art. I love to draw. My daughter loves art. She's a great artist. So yeah, I think it just fits, man.
Yeah.
Well, I just looked it up that Kelly with an I means lively or aggressive or from the wood. And you could do something really cool with that.
Very cool, man. I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what? I never looked that up. I'm really glad that you said that, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, she is those things, man. She is,
Gosh, it's a whole I can see right now. It's a whole forest
yeah,
sleeve. It goes
yeah.
up on your neck. It's half of your face. It's
Come
gonna
on,
be
baby.
awesome,
I'm like, who
man.
cares
It's
what
gonna be
people think? I'm
beautiful.
like, I gotta cut the line off at
Yeah.
face tattoos.
It'll match your new haircut. This is a new haircut, Spencer.
Oh, okay,
That Ewan's
okay.
got too.
Wasn't deliberate. Sports cuts. My normal hairdresser, she's kind of high end, and she normally, and I can't have normal hair. And I said, could you try and do normally what I tell my hairdresser? And the lady's like, oh sure, no thing. It's like zzz, 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 zzz. And I'm like,
Mm.
that's not what I asked for. And I was telling Sean earlier, I was looking in the mirror, but 15 minutes later, I was kind of not upset. I don't really get upset about that kind of stuff, but I was like, that's not what I really had looked for. I kept looking. I was like, I kind of like it. I'm going to keep it. And then Sean's like, you look 10 years younger. I'm like, I'm keeping it.
Who
Yeah,
knew?
Yeah.
I
Roll the
know.
dice and
Yeah. Sports
sports
cuts.
cut delivered. You don't hear that very often.
Yeah. It
Nope.
was an accidental
Yeah.
delivery. I'll never get the same one again. It'll never be this good.
Well, hey, Spencer, I'm curious, man. With you CrossFit, we talked about it behind the scenes before Ewan came on. CrossFit Games is coming up. I know you're in CrossFit, and I kind of want to pack some things, man. But my first question is with you being a performance coach and working with athletes like ourselves. We consider ourselves. I consider myself a hybrid athlete, like to run in strength. We do high rocks and run marathons, ultras. And so, with you being a performance coach, working with these executives and even professional athletes, what would you say like the number one characteristic or trait these individuals have that you have found from your experience that separate them from the rest of the pack, people that just participate?
Well, there's a pretty wide range of people that you just described, but if we had to come up with one characteristic that seems different now than it was when I first started coaching, I think that they're open to coaching in lots of different areas of their life. I think a lot of times when somebody especially athletics. If you're lucky enough to be somebody's coach that's training for something in particular, when I first started, it'd be very common for the only thing that we would be able to discuss is that sport specific, and the cross training or the periodization that would be needed in order to prepare them for that particular event. But I think today the characteristic that I really look for, that I really love to find, is that someone's open, excuse me, to be coached in every area of their life, and they have an understanding that performance is a system, and it's a very robust system. And it's not just because I think there's some low hanging fruit that anybody in 2024 would nod their head and be like, well, yeah, of course we need to talk about that. Sleep, sustenance or nutrition, how you do recover from whatever intense based training that you have. But I think the final frontier is realizing that there's a huge psychological component. There's a huge aspect of stress that if you're not 22, if you have kids, if you run a business, needs to be managed,
Yeah.
right? There's a term in psychology, it's called allostatic load, which is basically representing that every time some stimulus happens to you, your body is recording whether that's a stress that it can handle, or it's a distress that it doesn't have the skill set to process. And I think as we get older, somebody that can recognize that and say, "Hey, you're my coach, and I'm here for the smoke in any way that we need to go about it." It's like whatever we need to talk about, I'm an open book. I think that's becoming more and more common. Which a few years ago, I think that person would have been a unicorn, right? That would have been like very rare to get somebody who's like, yeah, we can talk about my marriage, we can talk about my mindset, we can talk about how I de-stress, we can talk about the things I do when no one's around for me to tell myself that it's okay that I made it another day.
Yeah.
I think that's the direction that not all of coaching is going to go, but I think there's a little niche. I think there's a little wave that's coming where people are just connecting the dots like, man, there's some wild stuff going on. There's an obesity epidemic, there's a mental health crisis. You hear all these stuff around, but yet we're still trying to play like whack-a-mole. We're still trying to like go over here to this one part and then like go over here to this one part versus realizing like, hey, they're all attached.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, it's like
Mm,
with
beautiful.
mental health. You go to a doctor and they're trying to fix this problem, like it's isolated, like it's localized, and we're going to fix that problem. But really, if everything is connected, the body and the mind and the gut and the spirit and the soul, the heart, it's all in one. So if you're just trying to fix this, like you said, it was whack-a-mole. You're just whack-a-moling when you're trying to fix the brain, when it could be a body issue. It's not all encompassing. And I think exploring all aspects of life, right, it does all bleed over into other areas. And I was curious on I've heard this so many times, and I believe it's true for myself as well. Like, we form our beliefs and habits at a very young age based off of the information we get, and unless you proactively take steps to work on that or change that, you'll keep those beliefs. And that's why you might see a 70-year-old man throw a tantrum. He might be super rich and he's successful, but he gets ketchup on a burger and he wanted mustard, and he's like throwing a tantrum. That's a child's response. That's not a mature man that's doing that. So when it comes to sport and psychologically thinking, do you think a lot of those self-limiting beliefs are they child-like beliefs or that they had, or do you ever encounter that it's something that they've dealt with in the past that's showing up in their sport and the way they look at it?
Oh, for sure. And I think just normalizing that is a great way to go about it. It's like, hey, we all have those things, and we'll all continue to have those things. And the approach of this style of coaching, which we can use the word holistic, we can use systems based, we can use functional in the way that a functional doctor would. It's not to say that you're ever going to arrive at a place where it's easy street. The silver lining of this, which is a hard pill to swallow, is there's always going to be something that you'll have to work on. And I think when we are specializing in something, I love the word hybrid, but let's say that you guys weren't hybrid athletes and you were truly specializing in ultra marathons. Um, we would say, hey, for sure, there's going to be something that comes up that's at a deficit because of that specialization. And so I think that normalizing that there will be things that are still rattling around in our head from our childhood. There's going to be stuff that we learn that's like, man, I didn't realize that still had an influence on me, even though I'm an adult, even though I'm successful in these areas of my life. And I think that's why it's such a beautiful thought process, because it levels everyone out. There's a lot of stuff on the surface level where we would pass judgment, be like, well, that dude's clearly got it together way more than that guy. But if we zoom way, way, way out, everybody's got those ways that they are processing stress, that they're having to relearn, like, and not just from childhood, but like, hey, this thing worked for me when I was in my 20s. Now with two kids, it doesn't work the same way. And so I feel like it's all good. I think that we not only have those things, but then we beat ourselves up about them. And it's like, man, why did I do that? And then
Yeah.
it's this spiral of shame and guilt, and almost like self-hatred. You talk to yourself in ways about something that you did that you would never talk to your kids like. And so I think if we can just normalize that and say, well, of course there's going to be stuff that comes up. And if you're a married person, it's like you have a spouse that's also going to have that. So it's more complicated, and it becomes this thing that you can't say isn't going to happen. It's just like when, and then how, by the grace of God, are we going to try to handle this and move on?
Yeah.
Mm. One of the things that we talk about a lot on the show is clarity, having a vision, having a purpose, knowing what we're striving for, having that macro versus the micro of the daily grind. Cause I'm sure whether it's training or whether it's family or building a business, in whatever we do, we roll up our sleeves, we're in the trenches, we got to put in the work, right? We got to put in the hours, the time, energy, and effort. And you had mentioned before the show that you'd come on, that you had said that you really kind of been in that zone, that focus of just, behind the scenes of like buyer, not, you didn't say these words, I'm kind of paraphrasing, so correct me if I'm wrong, where you were doing things without being in an environment like this type of group, with other like-minded individuals. So are you in that place of life, Spencer, where you're focusing on one or two different things and you're making it a priority right now? And if so, what does that look like? Or are you in a place where like, man, you know what? There may be some kind of lack of clarity. There may be some kind of lack of fulfillment because I've been there, or I'm stuck and lost and I'm trying to find a direction on where who I want to become. Does that make sense in the two-part question there?
And are we talking from like a business standpoint, or specific to fitness
Yeah, well, because I'm a
and
big
that?
believer in like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So are you focusing on your business right now? Are you focusing on your family? I run it congruent. I run it together. I run it aligned with, hey, if I'm over here on my business and I'm working on that, I'm also being intentional about my personal life. So because if you have that lack of clarity, if you have that where you're on that hamster wheel, you feel like you're, repeating the same thing over and over and over, you neglect everything around you because of the lack of clarity. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because before the podcast, you had said, hey, I feel like I'm, by myself. And I resonated with that because that was
Mm.
me for the longest time, because had my head down in the sand, working on my business. That was my experience, was working on the business. I didn't know anything else existed around me. Do you resonate?
Mhm. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, from a business standpoint, especially being like the sole owner, single member LLC, yeah, it can be very lonely at times. I think for the last several years, we'll say from 2018 till I would say a couple of years ago, the focus was very much making some of these tweaks. I had a lot of inclinations about how the stuff that we've been talking about could be implemented in a training facility, how you could combine these protocols of cognitive health inside of a gym facility. And so I think that my focus has been head down in the gym, basically using the clients we have as lab rats, whether they realize it or not, and just some really fun, trial and error and experimentation to see what worked. But I love interacting with other coaches. I love it. I coached for CrossFit for a number of years, and I think I got more out of that than anybody else did that took one of those courses, just because it's a it's a cup I think I could drink from forever, just getting to hear what somebody else has going on, and not even to be an expert or to try to solve their problems, but just to say like, hey man, I'm glad you said that, and I get where you're coming from. I mean, that can change somebody's day, just those two sentences right there. So by being more active on social media has allowed me to interact with more coaches, and then boldly saying like, hey, we don't have it all figured out, but we got some things figured out. And for those in the fitness space, most of the feedback I get is this sentence right here: I wish I could do more for my clients. And so I feel called to get together with other really smart people and try to figure that out. And it's not to say that we're therapists or doctors, but there's a lot of space between thriving in every dimension of your life in true pathology. There's a lot of space between having to go to one of those and then feeling like you're nailing it across the board. And I think that a coach is positioned to step into that. So, very long-winded answer to your question is, I feel called to step out of my little bubble, interact with people, and I don't know what's going to come of that, but it's been awesome just to feel supported, but also to try to give more than I take.
Mm.
Yeah. Love that,
When
man.
you have clients coming in, you said you used like, a lot of them as guinea pigs, trial and error learning stuff. How
Mm-hmm.
when people are coming to you now, like, is there a running theme? Is there like a certain point where people are kind of getting to that's when they come see you, like, and how, and maybe two-part question here, like, how are you conveying that message for them to come to you? Like, what are you telling them they're going to get when they come, like that marketing message? Because it's, man, what you're bringing is so valuable, because everything is, it's 80% up here when you're
Yeah.
when you're competing. Like, once you have the physical aspect down, of course you got to have that, but how do people find you, and how do you get them to come? Because it's very intangible. Coaching is, they're not getting some product here. They're not learning a skill necessarily that can go, oh, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
go make money once I learn this skill, or once I learn this skill, I can go perform in the gym. It's not quite. But it's even, perhaps even more important. But like, yeah, how do you do that?
In lots of ways, it's the opposite of what I was taught when I first got into fitness. A lot of times, like, a client shows up and you're more stoked than they are, right? It's like you're almost more excited than they are. And and then it gets to a point where it's like, man, they don't do exactly what you told them to, and then both of you guys are disappointed, and typically that leads to the client feeling ashamed, maybe like a failure, the coach telling themselves a number of things like, man, I wish this client just wanted it more. Or, you know what, how many times have I heard somebody say, well, you just got to fire your bad clients? And if that's true, you're not left with very many people. And here's the thing: if we reduce it down to performance and that's the only thing that we're focused on, then yes, there will be a certain avatar of person that shows up and is like, hey, tell me what you want me to do and I'll do it. And so it's tricky because you do have those people. But again, if we zoom out and I touch on the thing that you don't want to talk about, you are that person in some area of your life. So everybody is the same when you zoom out. So the part that is the opposite of what I was taught is when someone comes in, we say, hey, if you're open to it, we're going to have some deep conversations around coaching. That's it. That's the only thing that we lead with. But they are prepped to take that in whatever direction that they think that might mean. I'm going to ask them first and foremost, hey, what do you want? And typically people are going to give you an answer that they think that you want to hear. And so they're going to say, oh yeah, I want to lose 10 pounds. Or you know what, I really want to train for the high rocks. Or man, I really like to lose like 5% body fat. And I say, whatever they say, I say, that's great. Let's say that tomorrow that happened. How would your life be any different? The whole train of thought here, I'm not trying to warm them up to a sale. I am trying to dissuade them from moving forward. It's an anti-sale. Now, has that changed our sales quota? It certainly has. Has that changed the nature of our business and the amount of leads and what sales look like? It absolutely has. But I know that when someone does opt into coaching, they really are ready.
Yep.
And I think what we do at our own peril is we jumpstart into action when a lot of times people aren't ready, or it's me convincing them that they're ready versus, and this is how we could just sum it up, it's them convincing me that they're ready. So a lot of this is agitating the problem. Hey, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, okay, let's say that happened tomorrow. How would that make your life any better? Well, I just think I'd be able to play with my kids better. Okay, why do you care about that? And the thing is that they've attached weight loss to something that actually lives in a different area of their life, right?
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Hey, so if you're 10 pounds lighter, are you saying, and you got to be very careful not to say this with any sarcasm or tone that makes them feel defensive, but truly being curious, like, hey, so if you're 10 pounds lighter, how does that make it possible for you to play with your kids better? And they may have an answer, and they may not have an answer. And if they don't have an answer, hey, it's not really about the performance. It's actually about time management. It's actually about how they handle stress. It's actually about the prioritization that they have around the things that are really important in their life. It actually comes back to the purpose of why they're on this earth in the first place. And if the conversations goes in that direction, I've already told them, hey man, this is going to be a deep coaching conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that we start to talk like that and they're like, whoa,
Didn't come for that.
I'm not ready for this. And
Yeah.
we say, totally cool. Let's keep chatting. If you're open for it, let's keep chatting. I don't think that you're ready to train, but I don't want to send you out onto the street with nothing to show for it. Let's keep interacting. Maybe there's some things that you're not ready to discuss like that, but maybe there are some things that you're totally ready for. You tell me what you feel like you're really ready for. So in summary, when we incorporate change psychology, it is warming people up to the belief that they can do something. But the difference is, instead of me telling them, it's them telling me. And with that, I can't rush it.
Yeah.
Now there'll be people that show up. I mean, I know that you guys have experiences here too, where it's like, if you tell me to eat rocks, I'll eat rocks. You know,
That's me.
if
That
you,
was me.
yeah. It's
Tell
like
me what to do.
you tell me that the secret to doing all these things is just punch myself in the stomach 10 times, then all right, here we go. You know, it's like they will do anything that you want.
Yep.
And if they're at that place, it's tempering that enthusiasm and that willpower for long-term sustainability.
Yeah.
Right? That's CrossFit in a nutshell. CrossFit works. It works so well, you got to pump the brakes on most everybody. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that in the early days of having an affiliate, one of the things that we saw is that everybody got results. It's like, well, everybody was in a stage of action. Everybody was ready to commit to that stuff. But as we did it longer and longer, there were more and more people that weren't ready for that. And it's because CrossFit got more understood. And as something gets more understood, you're going to get more and more people that aren't as ready for action. So I think that's a big part, and probably one of the biggest changes. Now, where that goes, like what we end up working on, man, that's really up to them. That's really up to them. And they're going to be an expert in their own life better than I am. And so as we start to design these things that we could change from a habit standpoint, or, you know, ways that we might improve this area of their life that they think is a bottleneck, a lot of that is not going to come from me saying like, well, you know, I read this psychology book and I really think that you should, you know, it's just them saying like, dude, what do you think's like the easiest thing that you could be consistent with? And they'll have a better answer. They'll have an answer that is so much smarter than anything that could come out of my brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just did an episode, actually. It was, you have all the answers, so why are things not changing? We have all the information. The information, you can Google anything and get it right away. So so why are these people, they're coming to you telling you what they already know, but they have you as the reflection. What people are missing is the connection, the thought process, that they haven't put all the pieces together, and they need that external. When you're in the middle of the thick of something, you're in the jungle. You can't see it. You got to have a guide, and they help guide that person to the path, through the path that they can actually see if they've got a flashlight. It's fascinating. We all have that too. I know I've got mine. That's the frustrating part. It's like, I know, and that's why I've had coaches, because they've helped me see those things.
One of the things when I heard you telling your story in talking to new coaches and talking to new clients, and whether it's putting stuff out on social media or people listening to a podcast, one of the biggest challenges that we run up against at Level Up and Live is, and Ewan's asked me this behind the scenes, it's like, hey, if you're talking to your younger self and you're listening to a podcast, social media, reels, any kind of social media outlet, like what needs to be said, because I'm reading Brand Script, Brand Story by, who's it? Donald Miller?
Donald Miller. Yeah.
Anyways, beautiful book. I don't know if you've ever read it or if you read Spencer, but highly recommend it. It talks about, villain, internal, external problems, and the philosophical. And so going through this, one of the things that when I think about you, Spencer, and like what you do and who you coach, and it applies the same thing, kind of look like what business owners and entrepreneurs, even with customers, any industry, is why should I listen to you, right? And what's going to stop me in my tracks? And that goes back to speaking to the internal problems. And for me, I'm sitting here thinking, I wasn't listening to anybody. I was an egotistical dude, prideful guy, thought I had it all figured out, thought I could DIY it, YouTube it, search it on social media, whatever it may be, and figure it out on my own. That wasn't the case. That just led me to more loss, stuck, and unfulfillment. And so once I put that pride and ego down, here was the key ingredient. I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that was the final straw. Then I started searching for answers. And so one of the things we're trying to position here at Level Up and Live is like, okay, well, we're speaking to the internal, we're speaking to the external, right? And we know who we're talking to. We know our avatars. We know our target audience. And it's not if, but when they get sick and tired of being sick and tired of being on the hamster wheel and being in the rat race, right? They know who to reach out to. Do you have that similar experience and similar journey in what you've built and what you're doing in coaching your clients, as far as when they reach out to you, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds? Is it because they're sick and tired of being sick and tired? And I know you go down the rabbit hole and asking them the questions because there's something else really going on that's going to allow them to be sustainable. But ultimately, are they coming to you because of they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the weight loss, and then you're able to dive deeper and you catch them on the front end? Or what does that look like in that journey of really branding what you're building at your business?
It could be lots of different stages. I try to go into conversations with a very childlike disposition to not, and this is hard, right? Because we all have lots of experience having conversations with people, and the brain is really good at making associations and trying to be efficient and say, okay, well, this sounds like this conversation that I've had a lot, so maybe it's also this same thing that this person did previously, but you never know. So I do like to have frameworks, certain guardrails that as I'm having a conversation, I can know, even though I'm not going to ever act like an expert, I'm not going to tell somebody what they should do. I also know that it's my job to, like you said, Ian, like shine the light on the path that we're supposed to stay on. Because this and where this can go off the rails is like, man, they are talking about something that I really can't help them with. There's some things that are outside of my scope. So, Sean, if somebody comes and says, I don't want to change and I won't ever want to change here. It's like, okay, like that's probably not something that we'll be able to work with together. But that framework is actually appropriated to the world of addiction, right? And so, when someone ever has something that they've had a really hard time stopping or even monitoring in levels that would be healthy and doesn't cause dysfunction the rest of your life, they look at these different stages of change. And so when I'm having this conversation, I am thinking like, okay, it sounds like they're using certain language that tells me they're just thinking about this, like they're not ready, they're just thinking about it. It's totally cool. There's certain questions that I can ask that might encourage them to move on to the next stage, not jump start to action, but if they're just thinking about it, that stage is, hey, how do I compare, like you said, this feeling of being sick and tired to this feeling of continuing to do what I've done? And how do we really step back and evaluate, like, what are the pros and cons of staying sick and tired? Because
Yeah.
here's the crazy part, there are some pros of staying sick and tired. That's why we do it for so long. A lot of times we're just focused on, man, it would be so good if I lost weight. It was like, hey, there's a reason that you're 10 pounds overweight. There is an immunity to change that you have, that I hope that you realize that you have. And let's unpack why that is. And it's not, hey, you're a piece of crap. It's a beautiful and very sophisticated way that we typically protect ourselves with some of these things that we continue to do that we call dysfunction. It's not dysfunction. It's just our brain thinking that, like, man, this is such a danger to Sean that I've got to keep doing it, right? That fear of whatever it is that you thought potentially of, man, if I do ask for help, if it's not just me DIYing, if I do this, like there was something that did not seem very appealing until what you were experiencing was a lot worse than that. And then that was the change. So in summary, I think it's just trying to figure out where someone's at and then asking some great questions that will just hopefully encourage them to move on to the next step. There's a stage called pre-contemplation where they're not even thinking about it. They don't they have no idea this is on their radar.
Yep.
And we in the fitness industry, we say, well, I guess they're just not disciplined enough. No, it's not it.
It's not that.
It's that they don't have any idea that it's even possible.
Mm.
They don't even believe
There's a
that they
disconnect.
could do it.
Yeah, there's a disconnect.
And every time that I think that, it like almost makes me emotional, because you're not dealing with a person that is a pile of crap, is like laying on the couch watching Netflix. Like they're probably super successful in lots of areas of their life, but this one thing, they can't even visualize how that would look.
Yeah.
So think about how different that is to coach that person than it is to coach somebody that's like, hey, I'll eat rocks, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally
Yep.
And
different
so
stages.
I just show up and try to figure out where they're at, try to ask good questions, and then go from there.
Yeah. Well, that's funny you say that, because I love talking to the ones. I want to work with the ones that just tell me what to do. Like, I'll eat rocks. I'll go to war
Sure.
with, I'll go to war with you. And Ewan knows this. But man, those are like few and far between, it seems like.
See, it's funny because I want the one on the couch that doesn't think it's possible. Like we cover like the top ends, and
Yep.
and you cover all of it, of course. To me, I was
That's
thinking
awesome.
about it. It's like that pre-contemplation. So they don't even know, right? That's what you had said, and so it's like that's
Yeah.
to me, it's almost the phase before burnout, like because they're not quite sick and tired enough, but it's heading that direction. Because if they
Yeah.
don't change, it's going to get so bad that then they're going to be at rock bottom, and that's when you're sick and tired, and that's when to me, is when people start making that change. Like they start looking, okay, this is so
Yeah.
bad, I have to do something else. They
Yeah.
start doing it, and then from that phase, they get maybe information, maybe inspiration, maybe something, but they start doing something else that they were opposite of what they were doing. And then they start to change the identity that now, oh, I just did something that's, I'm heading in the right direction. Well, then now the light's shining and they feel this little bit of hope, possibility. Where else is it going? So they continue. If they can continue, then it gets into a phase of, man, I'm feeling pretty good. What is, and this is the kind of the key thing that I've realized for even myself recently is like, once you get there, it's like, well, what else is possible?
Yes.
Now they've gone from hopelessness to burnout to, they've done a little to the point of now they've got a vision. Like they didn't have a vision at rock bottom. They're really just trying to keep their head above water.
Yeah.
Now, once they get free and they see that vision, now they're driven. Now you get someone that is dialed in on the diet, and there's no willpower involved, and there's probably some willpower involved, but it's much easier when you have that vision to not go eat that candy or cake because you want this more than that.
Yeah.
When you're pre-contemplation or burnout, there's no vision, so I'm just going to eat it. That's what I've been doing. Do you see a lot of that? Is there kind of the phases of, like, you probably can go super deep on the psychology of that?
No need. You nailed it, man. I think that
very cool.
you nailed it. I think that transformation is a word that is thrown out all the time, but it is literally that. It is doing something that challenges the notion of who you think that you are in such a way that before you didn't believe it was possible, now you start to ask, just like you said, what else is possible? What else could I do?
Yep.
And that's why fitness is, God, it gets like reduced down to something so douchey, right? It gets reduced down to something like so superficial.
Yep.
But like, it's such a mechanism for tangible action that can completely transform the way that somebody's brain operates. And that's why progression is so beautiful. And that's why there's such great latent symbolism. It's like, man, if I can do this, like what else could I do?
Yep.
Yeah. Because it's
And
limitless.
yeah,
It is.
I mean, it really, it's an ongoing game of pretend that you play with yourself until it's not pretend, right? You try something on, it's like, oh, I am actually this now, right? And I'm sure it was the same when you guys started running. It's like, I'm just kind of, I got my backpack on, I'm just doing the thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I am that dude. Like I'm that dude,
Yeah.
right?
I did those things. So
Yeah.
that's who I must be, that person, because I did them. It's a confirmation of the identity that you've built. So doing, even if you don't feel like it at a certain point, you're like, oh, I've done so much of it. I am that.
I'm going to throw something out there, and it could be a swing and a miss, but have you guys seen the show The Bear?
Bear. No, I don't think I have.
It's okay. I'll sum this up very quickly. It's a show that's on Hulu. It's about a chef that goes into this restaurant and takes a family business and makes it like a really world class, like Michelin star establishment. There's one character though, and this is why it's relevant to what we're talking about, that is a certain way. And he's so dialed in to that person that you think, man, this is how this character is basically going to be for the whole show. But he goes through in the series of one episode a transformation just like we're talking about. And there's some very tangible things that he did different, and experiences and exposure that let him know, like, hey, maybe there's a different way that I can show up. Maybe there's a different identity. But I think the hardest part is where he's already changed who he is. He's in a place that's different than his normal establishment. And then he goes back. He goes back to where he's been, where people know he shows up in this certain way. And he usually is dressed really sloppy and he's got a shirt on and he shows up in a suit. And everybody that's in the restaurant is like, dude, what are you doing? Now, I don't know about you, but a lot of times I've made the change, but then someone challenges me and I go, oh yeah, I am a poser. Oh, you know what? You're right. Like who am I? I'll go back to where I was. And his response was, yeah, I just wear suits now. And
I love
everybody's answer is like, oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it's so cool.
let's go.
I've thought about that. I mean, it's a silly little cooking show, but I've thought about that so many times because I think the last step of what we're talking about is just to say, like, I'm going to be more confident about this than you are. And
Mm,
this is who I am. And
yeah,
who's to say that I can't do this? Right? That's why community is so important in the addiction space, right? It's why you could make all these changes, but for some of us, maintenance is where we'll live for the rest of our lives, right? And in order to stay there, because we won't be able to terminate addiction, and we won't be able to ever fully like leave this thing that was once a challenge for us. It's why it's so important to have people around that say, like, yeah, man, you are that dude.
yeah.
Yeah, suits are cool.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
right on.
That's so true. We call it like that level of awareness. It's stop existing and start living. That's really kind of the like 'cause that's
Yep.
existing mode where you're doing
Yeah.
these things and it's you're not really you're not happy that you're there. You're
Yep.
there. You've been doing these things. You don't. There's no belief. There's no vision. There's no possibilities, and you're just
Yep.
running the motions. And to
Yep.
Mhm.
me, if you're in that mode, yeah, I am going to go eat cake as well. There's no
Yep.
point, and you're just existing, and it's just more existing until you get to that moment of man, this is who I am now, and that's really a form you can feel it of living. Like you're actually living.
Mhm.
That guy's living in the suit. Yeah, do this. It's a totally different
Mhm.
state than he was in before. So I'm going to watch that show now that you've recommended it.
It's pretty good, man.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. Well, Spencer,
The
man,
episode's called Forks. It's in season 2. Forks,
of
season
course,
2.
here comes a binge.
Okay. Yep. Worth it.
Yeah, you got to have
Worth
some
it.
TV in your life.
Well,
Inspiration.
Spencer, man, we appreciate you being on the show today. This time has flown by. You know what they say: you never work a day in your life when you love what you do, and time flies when you're having fun. So, man, we really appreciate. I know you've dropped some invaluable bombs today with our listeners and viewers. So we really appreciate your time, energy, and effort. We got 2 final questions for you. First, where can our listeners and audience where can they support you? How can we support you? Where can they follow you?
Man, we're doing the social media thing. So, the business I work in, it's called Behavior and Performance Research, or BPR for short. So if you did a Google search and looked up BPR Institute, you'd get social media, you get our website, you get the YouTube channel. And we're just like you guys, trying to put out content that I wish I had when I was first coming up as a coach and was desperately trying to make an impact in people's lives, but felt like an imposter, felt like I had to be an expert, felt like I, had to have all this stuff. And we are trying to make digestible chunks of information that could equip those such as myself. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
awesome, man.
any of that's cool.
We'll have that in the show notes too, your links as well, so for easy access. And then second and final question, my friend, is what does level up and live mean to you?
Well, level up, I think, is very much in line with what we're talking about. I'm constantly trying to look for the things in my own life where it's a little more fuzzy, it's a little dark, it's not quite as much clarity. I can't I can't visualize exactly what it is that I should be doing at all points in time. And that's a moving target. But I find that takes such courage, and it's not a perfect process. There's lots of failures there, but I can tell when I'm on the right path, not even from like a cerebral standpoint, but like a gut. It's like, yeah, okay, this is what I should be focused on. And that's taken a long time to build up to, and there's still, mistakes to be made, and all kinds of stuff of just being a human being. And then, I think the live part is to try to figure out, like, man, what was I put on this earth for, and what would it look like to do that?
Mm,
And for me, I got 3 girls, I got a wife. Right now, the answer is, how can I show them what it looks like to love their mother, live a life of adventure, learn as many things as we can, so we can have, the best experience together as a crew. And some cocktail of those things mixed together feels like exactly what I should be doing.
Love that.
Beautifully said, man. It's not
Beautiful.
one size fits all. You hit the nail right on the head. So we appreciate you today, Spencer. We always end the call with level up and live.
Yeah. Level up and live. Thanks, Spencer.
Thank you, guys.